Every year, thousands of construction workers are injured or killed because of on-the-job accidents. My guest is Texas personal injury attorney Greg Anderson of the law offices of Terry Bryant, and he's going to talk with us about this topic. So, Greg, thanks for being here.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, Greg, what are some of the most common examples of construction accidents that you see in Texas?
Well, we handle a lot of those types of cases, and what we typically see is, for instance, a residential construction situation where the employer contractor fails to provide fall protection or fails to ensure that the workers use fall protection. OSHA standards are pretty clear about that if a worker, for instance, is working more than 6 feet above the ground, they're supposed to wear a harness or some other type of fall protection should there be a situation. Another thing we often see is failure to have guardrails up in place. Again, OSHA is very strict about that, that if there are floor openings, say for instance for a stairwell or there's an open wall, there's supposed to be guardrails in place, and we frequently see cases where that has not been done, and a worker will forget exactly where he or she is and back up over an opening.
Okay, now Greg, you mentioned OSHA. What is OSHA?
Well, OSHA is a federal agency that's in charge of workplace safety in the United States, and they've promulgated requirements for all sorts of industries, including the construction industry.
Well, how common is it that these accidents involve a violation of safety issues?
Oh, pretty common. Construction companies are like any other entity or person for that matter. There are a lot of really good ones out there that follow safety standards and run very safe workplaces. On the other hand, there are a lot of bad ones out there that don't really seem to care about that. Their main concern is getting the job done, and if someone gets hurt along the way, that's just sort of a cost of doing business. So there are companies and contractors that seem to cut corners with regularity.
Now, Greg, is workers' compensation the only recourse here?
No, not at all. If an employer has workers' compensation, certainly in Texas, and I would imagine in most, if not all states, the worker's barred from suing the employer. That's the trade-off, the whole idea behind workers' compensation. It's a sure recovery if there's an incident, and the employee doesn't have to prove negligence against the employer. However, if there are other entities involved, like for instance an employee of a subcontractor is hurt because of the negligence of a general contractor, then the employee is allowed to go after the general contractor. Also, if an employer doesn't have workers' compensation, the employee then can go after the employer.
Okay, now what can the injured worker actually recover for if he files a claim?
Well, in Texas, the standard personal injury categories of damages are lost wages, both past and future medical bills, pain and suffering, mental anguish, disfigurement, things like that.
Well, Greg, if someone wants more information, how can they reach the law offices of Terry Bryant?
Well, they can call us here at 800-444-5000. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Greg, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
This is Cindy Speaker for State Law TV.